Here we go live. Welcome everyone to Meshery Development Meeting. Today is January 11th. And before we begin the call, make sure you write your name in the attendees list. I have already shared the link in chat. Let me share it again. And if you haven't got a chance to say hi to the community, this is a chance. Feel free to unmute yourself and give a quick introduction if you are joining this call for the first time. I see a couple of new names in the participants list. So who would like to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. So I'm Chetan. So I'm here for to know more about the Meshery development and how to be able to contribute to this open source. And yeah, that's it from me.
Yeah, that's great. Welcome to the call, Chetan. So do we have, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, great. Chetan, say more. What do you do currently? Do you study, work?
No, so I'm working in a startup, but mostly on the front end part. But so I'm interested in the back end also. So I want to be able to learn that, be able to contribute to back-end development. So yeah, that's why I've explored few open source projects. So I found Meshery and I've joined it. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you
I'm
found
trying
Meshery.
to explore the ecosystem. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Right. You explored a few, but then you came across Meshery, and boom,
Correct.
and then here you stay. So yeah, good. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
There's different backend that floats around here. Certainly some Golang gets used. And then it kind of depends on, and then there's SQL. There's a little bit of Rust. There's a bit of C++ that we haven't touched for quite some time. There's some GitHub workflows with some bash scripts and things like that. I'm probably missing a few things, but yeah, don't hesitate to get your hands dirty. One of the things that you might get your hands dirty with as you look at creating that leaderboard is, there's the extraction of data. So if you can either grab data real-time, JSON real-time from the discussion forum and display, or maybe I'll drop a link to point out how it's been done in a couple of other areas where we pull the data first using a GitHub workflow. So at least that'll serve as an example for you. So maybe some back-end stuff there. Anyway, nice to meet you.
Yeah, same here, Lee.
Yeah.
And do you have any doc or anything so that it would be introductory to be able to some design doc to be start developing to the backend?
Yeah, well, yes, that's a good question. There's a doc specific to the use case to the issue that you've signed up for.
Yeah. There's
two of them actually. And then there's 100 other docs for the other backends that we have. So there's a lot of projects around. So, but we'll get you those two links. As a matter of fact, Casey or Subedi, if they're on the call, they can help with that. And Subedi is. So great. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, Garth. I just want to say hi.
Yeah. Thanks for the introduction, Chetan. And yeah, if any newcomers, if you are joining this call for the first time, I would also like to say that tomorrow we have newcomers meeting. In the newcomers meeting, we share all the resources and we talk about different projects of Layer 5. So make sure you join and grab a project. So next up, I see Aditi, Atharv, or Gurpreet. Anyone would like to introduce?
Yeah, I would go. Hi everyone, myself Gurpreet Singh, and I'm currently pursuing BTech Computer Science from IIITM Gwalior, India. And I have expertise in few of the languages like Golang, Solidity, JavaScript, and I have worked with many of the frameworks like React, Next.js, Gatsby, and in the backend side also there I have explored many libraries. And yeah, that is all about my tech stack. And yeah, I'm here to explore the open source world and to contribute in this community. Yeah. And yeah, also I'm here to discuss one more issue that Gaurav said he wanted to discuss with me on the dev meet. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. You already have a PR up.
Yeah.
Okay, so did I left any other newcomer? Yeah, if not, feel free to introduce yourself in chat. With that, I think we can go ahead with today's agenda items. So first up, we have Ashish on demo of Meshmodel API. Ashish would like to share.
Yes. Okay. So a little bit of context. This there is a pull request over here, and then there is a subsequent pull request in Meshkit as well. And okay, I did not create it over here. I'll have to create it first. The changes are local, but anyway. So in Meshery, there is a pull request which is about refactoring some of the endpoints that we already have. So there is an endpoint docs that there is a link to that doc in the first in my task in the meeting minutes, and this is that particular doc. And initially we had these particular grayed out endpoints, the Meshmodel endpoints, and Meshmodel is a new construct that we have. Just to give a little bit of context, Meshmodel is a new construct that we have introduced to package the different entities that Meshery will support, like different kind of things like component definitions and relationship definitions. And these definitions basically means that just like in Kubernetes, you have custom resource definitions that can further support your different custom resources. We have relationship definitions and component definitions, and then in future policy definitions that will allow Meshery to extend its capabilities to basically consume other projects from the cloud, from the CNCF ecosystem. So components are one example of that. Then currently there are only two being implemented: components and relationships. Policies are on the milestone. So initially we had the structure which was where model was, so the root resource was not model, and model was an optional thing. But recently there was a change made, and after that change, the construct of model is pushed onto the root, and the entities that I mentioned, like component and relationships and policies, all of these will come under model. An example of model can be Kubernetes Istio or traffic mesh, or let's say Argo CD. These are like the definite like examples of what a model can be. And the one example of component can be under Istio, you can go, then the component can be authorization policy, or let's say virtual service, destination rule. And then relationships are Meshery constructs. So the relationships can be hierarchical relationships, something like where you have all the, like, for example, pod has a hierarchical relationship, let's say with namespace. So those things are defined and under like these definition files, which are stored in a SQL database, and then these are retrieved through these endpoints. So yeah, so the behavior that is described over here in the spreadsheet, this behavior is verbatim implemented, although there are few things that are missing right now, and these things are described over here. So just to go over the thing real quick. So at the root, you have the model resource. So if you'll hit this endpoint, you'll get around like 424 models that we support right now. And as you can see, these are all the models that we support. And here you can, so I'll not go like, there's the page and page size things are uniform across all the different subsets of these particular endpoints. So like you can do page size. So I don't think I need to like go over that.
One question. Is there some kind of Swagger docs that can be like rendered right?
So this particular this thing is from my PR, and there are some discrepancies over here. As you can see, these are because some changes are required in Meshkit. Some comments, Swagger comments need to be added on Meshkit, and then a release of Meshkit, and then over here. So yeah, in my PR, as like the first thing that I've mentioned is that few REST docs need to be updated. So although these things like relationships and components are added over here, but as you can see, there are like the response is a little weird, and there are some things needed to be added in the description. So these things are generated from Swagger, and yeah, this is there would be Swagger docs for all of these things. So you can instead of like reviewing the PR, you can go and look up the /reference/rest APIs on PR. So there is this or preview for this particular commit that's already present, and these tests are failing because I'm referring to my local Meshkit in my this particular PR, and as I said, there would be a Meshkit release required. And for those of you who don't have the context, Meshkit is a common tooling library that is used across most of the Meshery projects. So every function, every interface, every struct that is like common to every all the projects in Meshery, it's being pushed into Meshkit. So so yeah, about that question, the rest, yeah, the docs are generated from Swagger. Okay.
Oh, but they're not like deployed with a local Meshery instance, and you can like functionality with Swagger, you can just like press try out, run. Like is that something that comes with a local Meshery instance, or it's just deployed to like the Meshery docs with viewing capabilities only? Like there's no way of executing it
on if by viewing capabilities you mean like directly what do you mean by viewing capabilities?
Hitting the endpoint from inside Swagger?
No, that doesn't come like, yeah, that's not present under Meshy server.
Oh, okay, got it.
These docs are separate.
Static. So, okay.
Yeah. So I won't go over what PHP size is. So this is like, these are all the models that you have, and then you can like under model, then the next you can have a component or you can have a relationship, but first you'll have to define, like tell what model. So for example, I say istio, then for this particular thing, it will give me the model information, and then there would be a components array, and then there would be a relationships array, and in future there would be a policies array. So all the entities for this particular model would be served over here in this particular array. And on this particular thing, you can even have like some kind of a greedy thing. So if you do, I guess it was search equals true, then okay, it is on per component thing right now. I think I have added this thing over here. Yeah, add search on model level. So currently search is not present on model level in this particular PR I have. There is one commit that I have to make. So yeah, that's why this particular thing is missing. Other than that, under Istio, you can have component or you can have like a relationship. For component, if you can have like these components that I was talking about, like authorization policy and destination rule and so on and so forth. And over here, you can then search for, you can have a greedy search. So anything that starts with auth, let's say, for this, if I specify search equals true, then authorization policy comes in. So UI can use this particular search equals true for things like greedy search, so that when users are typing it, it can greedily it can do lazy loading and fetch it from the server later on. And again, page size, those kind of things are available, and the same goes for relationships. So I won't go over each of the thing. The description, the exact description need to be updated over here in the as Mario pointed out in the Swagger docs. And like these few things are missing because of the Meshkit thing, and like yeah, so these things need to be updated. So I'll update it within like just after this call. So the Swagger docs, and the other thing is, yeah, so in order to be consistent, there was on the Meshery API endpoints, this particular proposal, there was this I guess this order so there is this query parameter order. Currently in my particular commit, I have I'm not specifying. So for example, you can do things like order, but order is like at this point it's like a boolean, so you can order on one particular thing, but that needs to change. So on my PR, what will happen is that on order you can specify the exact field on which you want to order things. So for example, the component has a kind, it has a API version, so you can specify order equals like kind, and then to specify whether you want it ascending and descending, over here there would be basically on sort you can say ASC or D DESC. That thing is not over here in proposal, but yeah, that's what like I'm proposing because that's consistent with other API endpoints that we have. So that's the second change. And yeah, the third change I already talked about, search on the model level, which would be, again, I'll need to make some change in the mesh kit. So after these three changes, we would be migrating to this particular to these new endpoints that were proposed. The rest are already okay. Only 2 or 3 things are missing, which I already pointed out here. So any other questions regarding this thing?
I guess that's a no. So thank you, Ashish. So next up we have Antonette on Next.js upgrade and other Meshery package upgrade.
All right, so so my update is working on the net to get it upgraded to 13. This is basically a fast track. So that means we're having there were a couple of issues from the CI build that Mario had mentioned. So I'm helping with that PR at this moment to just try to get it, just get it to the updated version, but still applies from my other PR that have already been working on. Once we make this change, then we can go ahead and add everything else that I've already been working on onto after that. So I can share where I am. Well, you can kind of see what it looked like right now. So, okay. So here, there were a couple of things that I made changes. One is specific to net, which we're on 13, and I forced the solid JS to be at version 4 because there's a breaking changes when you change to 5, and also change around a couple of the scripts. So instead of using ESLint, then you can just use net, and since it already has built-in support for it, and just kind of clean it up a little bit to where everything else doesn't have the dev 16. As far as I can tell, it was working on my end, but the workflow wasn't going through when I made the changes. Hold on. But anyway, so because of what I did, there were a couple of temporary changes that I don't like doing, but this is just only temporary until we get everything else moved. So one of the things to keep an eye on is this particular file. This right here will keep all of the packages that are actually old, quote unquote, that needs to be. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I wonder if you're sharing. Are you sharing the Meshery dashboard right now? Because that's what we're seeing.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I am, just so that you can see what it looked like after making the changes. So as you remember from the last few phone calls that we had, that the icon was very large. So I found a temporary fix where it's smaller now, but you will have to call the actual class name. So because there are other styling properties that are added to it, since it's combined in 2 separate classes as one. So this is just temporary. You can't see it, but you can see it here. This very tiny blue down arrow. You can see it there, but it's not showing here, but that's only because I have commented out the line where it combined 2 of the classes together. So once I get that fit, that should come back up. But in the meantime, when I did make the change, it also changed the link color. So now I got to go back and figure out where that change was made. So I'll just do what I do before, create a new start from scratch and see where I made the change, and then just figure out from there. But this is how it looked here. And as you also notice that a couple of the icons are black, and I went back and changed the drawer icon styling to
Antonette,
it to be white. Yes.
Question to interrupt you, and that is, it's coming from a place of ignorance. I'm happy to ask from that position, and that is, what does a Next.js upgrade have to do with CSS and SVG, or how are those getting impacted?
Right. So what happened was when on one of the phone calls that we had, whenever I did do the upgrade to 13, it made some of the icons and some of the styling get all wonky. And so while I was trying to research a way to get the icon to not be so big, that's the temporary solution that I found in that part. However, I know that we are working towards creating our own SVG. So in the meantime, we can, that can be another solution to bypass some of the little temporary fits that I've done. So, but yeah, so this is just only just so that you can see what by making the changes, and then some of it was still breaking just a little bit. So but
with the Next.js 13,
can we see the changes? Sorry, so we can kind of like see how one change, like what we're trying to do, then what change you had to do, but then how that triggered like a cascade of, what is it, like dependency hell? Do you feel like that? Like, is this that kind of like the case?
Yeah. Let me see.
Like you update one thing, but then something breaks, you update that, and then that, I think that's especially with between Next.js, React version, some other libraries, including Webpack, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's one of those things that yeah, you can't just do a fluid change and then everything will work. So yeah, there were a couple of the packages that if you do npm audit to force the changes, it will automatically upgrade some of the packages. So that means it's breaking API, and so that means you got to go and redo the whole thing. So instead of doing that, I commented out on a couple of the things so it won't affect, but like I said, it's temporary. And in my honest opinion, I don't like doing it because I like to try to have it working, and then instead of having to come back later and then have to fix it again. So, but if you have any thought on that, we can still go through that. It would just mean that I'll just have to I'll work on it for the rest of the week to get it working.
I just have one thought. Like, is there some, like, what's the topmost library you want to upgrade? And if there's a specific upgrade, like migration guide that you're following, just so that everyone else is like able to follow along, because like else we could review your changes, but like there's not much we could say. Like just something to get us up to speed with the effort itself. Like what's the process you're following and what's the goal? Like maybe it's kind of hard to get that, like what all that you already know on someone else's head, right? But at least some documentation that serves the purpose. Like for example, what's the first library you were trying to upgrade? Was it a specific to the MUI, for example? Because I think this is already like initially, like besides the Cypress errors, like I mean the other PR you were working on.
Right.
Something about the SVGs, I think.
Yes, Material Yuri, they do have an official upgrade. They actually updated the documentation, so they have like a really great document on it. But I've mentioned before that's baby steps, so we really don't predict. There's a lot to try to change over. I did mention in the PR that we can still use the yeah.
Can you share the link to the PR?
I'm sorry. Show the link to what?
Sorry. Yeah, the link to that PR, like to the PR for all the upgrades.
Oh,
I think there's another one, like the
are
main
you
one
talking
you
about
were
the?
talking about.
Oh,
The
are you talking about the
upgrades,
one that I was already doing?
yes, the original one.
Okay. Okay. So
The two goals we have right now is one to fix the Cypress integration test failures, but that is, I think that could be solved by your original PR, like all the upgrades. This one, right? Yeah. Can you share the link? I'll take a look.
yeah.
Just so that we don't consume the time all the time from the meeting. I'm sure it is already well described.
Yes, it can. The only thing is that my PR has not put in the latest changes, so it does not have the Cypress 12, but I can, I have been doing different directories to test changes outside of my current PR, so I can do that. And once I, make sure everything works, I can add it onto this particular PR. So.
Sounds good. Anything anyone else wants to add or ask?
Yeah, two things for me. One is in the Zoom chat. I put a link to an issue. Actually, I think it's linked right there, but it's an issue that contains some similar details. So it's the first hyperlink in the description in this PR, issue number 6680. And so, this is a different thing. This is actually everybody who's on the call. If you're participating in Meshery currently, we're iterating toward a .7 release, and so there are open areas of need, some things that have been done. But actually, Antonette, if you go back to your PR, there's the first hyperlink in your PR description says, "Hey, this set of work is kind of part one of a larger set of work around upgrading." Various frameworks. So it's 6680, the first hyperlink right there. The first hyperlink at the top of your description.
Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, under notes for reviewers, kind of over by your avatar, but then at the end of the sentence.
Sorry, my whole window. Okay, where is it?
Yeah, the first, I hesitate to say it again. Because here, let me share. That is so Antonette, that PR that she was just sharing is a portion of the work.
Oh, that one. Okay, yeah.
Described in this overall issue. Lots of details about various, hurdles to use Mario's terminology, sort of dependency hell. So there's a bunch of frameworks that we use and libraries that we use, dependencies that we use that are in need of being uplifted, and they all have intertwining dependency, and so it's a whole effort just to upgrade them all between React, Node, Next.js, MUI. Those are the four of the significant architectural components to Meshery UI, and then they import and use any number of other libraries, Cypress being a related tool, and its upgrade being maybe related, but hopefully separate. So the only other thing that I wanted to add here was just a link to this for those that are interested to digest this information. Is Ashmeet on today? Let's see. He was going to look into Monaco further and collaborate, but I don't see him on. Just so I'm taking a note of a dropped commitment, and just I'm saying it out loud for everyone else on the call, because it's really meaningful when people show up to engage. It's really nice. It's nice to get to know people. It's nice to go do some great work together. So if you commit to doing something, do it. If you can't figure it out or need help, ask. There's hardly any other community that's more helpful. And if ultimately you run out of time or something else comes up or you give up or you don't like it, it's not an issue. Just signal that hey, you're going to unassign yourself, no problem. If you don't do that, then we'll just assume that you're super lazy or incompetent or don't do what you say you're going to do. Or no, I'm just kidding. No, anyway, it just communicate and set expectations. So anyway, Ashmeet, I'll send him a message in Slack about that. So the thing I was going to say is, Antonette, if we could, if you can do the smallest thing, we want to break this out in piecemeal. So you've done one upgrade already, and which is a collection of things. Perfect. Yeah, if we can, this week's goal with like the Next.js upgrade, perfect. It does look like you're using an older version of the UI. At least the version that was listed in your dashboard was like 5.66. So maybe that has an effect. I recognize that an upgrade of Next.js means that, styling and icons might be impacted depending upon other dependencies and other libraries that also have to be upgraded. Although I'm still surprised, assuming that you're still on the same version of MUI 4. Is that right? You're not upgrading MUI right now, right?
For this particular PR that I was working on with Mario, yeah, it's still on version 4. My other PR I have in between on 4 and 5. And when you notice some of the icons that are a different color, that's because it's using the new one, the default theme from, yeah. So, but
for this week, that's not a concern, is that right?
No, it's not a concern. I mean, I just need to fix a couple of the colors, but the icons, I'm trying to figure out why.
No, wait. Actually, let me make sure I'm being clear. So actually for this week with an upgrade to Next.js is...
Yeah, we can. It's just, I just need to fit the colors, that's all.
Yeah, so this is where I'm trying to get to is how are the colors? So MUI is staying at version 4 this week. And then this is just my ignorance, so this is you educating me. We're using, for some of the icons, we use different libraries to pull those SVGs from, those icons. And for the styling, how does that get impacted as Next.js is, interacts with MUI, but if we're staying at the same MUI version, how is our styling getting impacted?
Isn't it because of the React differences that both depend on React?
So React is also being upgraded this week. That's also part of the, okay, well, therein lies my confusion.
I don't know, maybe Antonette can confirm. I'm not sure, to be honest, yet.
Yeah, no, it's part of that. It's part of that with React 18, because 18 is different from 17. 18 is more strict. And so it's like right now, if you try to run it, the console is very noisy, but you can turn it off. And so in net configuration, you can turn that off. So that's fine.
Wait, let me back up, make it much more simple. Yeah, that's fine. So it isn't the case that just Next.js is being upgraded this week. It is also React. And therein lie my confusion as to how it is our styling would be impacted, because Next.js shouldn't have anything to do with styling. But so let's be really clear. This week's goal is Next.js 13 and React 18. That's what you're saying? Those two.
Yeah, that's my goal. But I will let you know if the styling becomes too much of an issue, then we really need to do the styling in the meantime. So yeah. I'll do my the scientific method, to keep trying and see what works, and then yeah. So
okay, all right.
Okay, so let's move to next item. That's by Abhi on scaling of SVGs.
So yeah. Okay, so there is 2-3 problems with the SVGs that we have right now. And one of the major problem that we are facing mostly in Safari, most commonly in Safari, and what you do is like whenever you zoom in and out, whenever you zoom in or zoom out, right? So what you see is the icons don't scale properly. Either they are, I mean, when you zoom at one of the highest level, the icon looks very small, or when you zoom out to the very lowest level, I mean, the icon don't zoom or doesn't catch up with the rest of the things you see in the UI, and that's somewhat creating the problems when someone is sharing their screen. I mean, that's a common problem that has to be eradicated. Yeah, in general. So there is a step to eradicate this problem. So earlier we have discussed it in the past we have discussed it where we get to this solution implemented here by Krishna. So what I mean, the main problem that I just told is that that the scaling doesn't work perfectly fine, and it's most prominent in Safari, and you may occasionally see in Chrome or some other browsers. I'm not sure about it. So yeah, so that's the fix that has to be put, that Krishna put, and that was discussed within the team, and the solution has been, I mean, we went through this solution. So what it is doing here is that it is kind of we are going through all the MUI icons that we use, or all the font or some icon that we use, and kind of using that icon, getting the code from the icons, and creating our own directory of icons and using it, and with giving some static height and width if in case height and width props are not there. So this is the way, I mean, we are doing things, and that somewhat solved our problem. But there comes another problem of maintaining that same code, because there has to be some line, I mean, whenever you write code, you has to maintain it. So the time will come when you have to use the next set of icons from one of the libraries that we use right now, and you will have to just copy paste the same thing that you can just use directly from the library into our own directory. And this problem get worse when you are doing or making any changes in the other repository that we have, which is called Meshery extension repository. So that's the crux of the problem. So this approach definitely doesn't works fine, and if it does work fine for the temporary case, I mean, for a very short period of time, so it's not very maintainable in a long shot. So this is what we have to follow in order to get out of the root problem that we are facing right now. So yeah, so first of all, like we'll start with reverting this PR, because as I said, like this is fixing the problem right now, but it is not maintainable or scalable, and we have to use certain number of other icons. And this has to be there will be multiple source of truth and all the problems in the world that we can assume after copy pasting the same thing again and again from the UI libraries. Secondly, I mean, the root cause of this problem, like why this problem in itself is happening, is because there is a height and width property that needs to be placed, or that needs to be put there on each and every SVG. And that's what one of the thing that this component library that we have created does. That, like, if you haven't mentioned height and width, it will assign the 24 pixel or 20 by 24 pixel height. So that's the root cause, that you are not assigning some height and width property, and for that you can't take risk of just copy pasting whole of the library. So what we have to do is just whatever SVGs that we are using right now, or we will be using in the future, that has to be going through a central framework that will assign the height and width property. So and then calling the, I mean, using the library, but all the SVGs that we'll be using, or that we are using right now, will have the height and width property set to some value that may be static value. Like that would be static value, of course. So yeah, so I mean, if we do this change, then we'll get rid of all the scaling problems that we have. Maybe one of the problem that Antonette was mentioning today about moving to MUI 5 and Next 13, and there was a problem with the scaling of, like, icon looks extremely big or very, very small. So I think if we go by this approach, we will be somewhat, I mean, yeah, we'll be somewhat straight or somewhat rigid on what we are using and why this thing has been done, or why the actual problem of, you are seeing very big icon visually, so why it is happening. Because yeah, we can just have get a proper control. That's what I meant to say in general. So yeah, that's the thing. And with this, like these two very minimal change, I mean, it's not minimal but very straightforward change, will be getting rid of many problems that we have around SVGs right now. The third step would be to clean up the current SVGs that we have. The current SVG library in the Meshery UI. So this is somewhat messed up, and there is a lot of redundant SVGs right now that is copy pasted one again and again for no reason. I mean, that could have been pasted for some good reasons of for a very short period of time, but again, that's not a good practice. Let me, yeah, so this is the SVG directory, and you'll see a multiple of SVGs are like, they have just a change in field property, like one of the color is blue and another is white. So and there are multiple copies of SVGs being used here and there for no reason. So that has to be cleaned. So while we will be working on this particular item, so it would be great if we can just also move to removing all the redundancy that we have right now. So yeah, that was my point around SVGs. And yeah, do we have any concerns? I don't find any concern from my point of view around this approach, but if you do have, like, please.
Yeah, any feedback or more question for Abhi?
Abhi, you're going to be posting this and sending it out for review?
Of course, yeah, I have not created a PR, the PR just yet, but definitely, like this, I'll have to create some initial work, then I'll
yep. I don't mean a PR, I mean a design proposal.
The design proposal is somewhat this only, but I can just extend on the things that is written there. But yeah, yes, okay.
Put into words what you just said.
I'll send it for the review. Sorry.
Yeah, if you would put onto paper what you just said in words, that would be good. That's my outstanding ask for the last couple of weeks, is like send out the proposal for review.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure. But the major crux, I mean, the hump or the only takeaway is just these 3 steps or these 2 steps, and that would be, I'll write it in more extended form, and I'll send it by email.
Cool. Thank you, Abhi. So let's move to next item, which is by Abhi on improving mesheryctl pattern list error message. So do we have Abhi on the call? Yep.
Yes, I'm here. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Yeah.
Abhi, would like to share your screen?
I can't really share my screen because I actually have an issue with my PC. So,
oh, no worries. I'll just show your PR and you can
thank
do a
you.
voiceover.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I made the changes to the pattern list error message. So from before now, it displayed the this get the URL and stuff. So I just changed that mostly. But I realized that there are some issues with when I created the PR, and I think I need to get it signed and stuff. But I left a note there that there's an issue. I don't know what's going on with my PC. Every time I try, it just shuts down. Like I've tried that. I know that I need to work. I read through everything, the error messages. I know I need to get those things done, but every time I try to, I can't test it. I can't test it. Every time I try to run Kubernetes and Docker, it shuts down. I can't run the two at the same time. Every time I try to do anything, it just shut down. Like I'm trying to see if I can fix it. But for now, like what I can do, I'm trying to do that. And I'm trying to get the signed thing done. And I tried yesterday, it didn't work out. Like it shut down. And I was thinking I'll try again probably today and get that part done. But I don't think I'll be able to get everything, like everything checked, because there are some parts that I can't get done because of the issue that I'm having with my laptop.
Okay, so you're trying to run Meshery server in a Docker or Kubernetes?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you don't need a Docker Kubernetes. You can run the make server command and run it locally on your system so that you don't have to run any container or cluster. If that helps.
Can you repeat that?
I said
One
that
comment, like,
there is a
sorry, but that depends on are you trying to run like a user build? Like, how do you install the mesheryctl?
No, I've already installed it, but whenever I try to run run mesheryctl system start, I think, then I get error messages, and I tried to troubleshoot those things, and from what I've read, it's because the K8 is not running or something. And then when I tried to also figure everything, the reason why I was getting that error as well, then I realized it wasn't running. And it was running at first, but then because I updated mesheryctl, and I think it has something to do with like the memory or something on my system.
Yeah.
So
one question, but you said you already installed mesheryctl, but can you explain what process you followed to install it?
I can't really tell you step by step because I did that like probably weeks ago.
Okay.
But I remember I followed.
But how? Like did you use a specific tool like Homebrew, or like are you building from source code?
No, I used I think I used Scoop.
So that changes things, right? Ashish?
Right.
What did you say you used? Install meshes?
Cool.
Yeah, actually there is. So Abhi, how do we make this concise? In the time that, so hey, Abhi, nice to talk. I don't think we've gotten a chance to talk before, but lots of messages, Slack messages. Yep, you sound just as nice as in voice as you do in Slack messages.
Thank you.
Yeah. I know in our interactions, there's been a little bit of confusion between building the project versus running installing it. So sort of putting on your developer hat versus your user hat. And I encourage you to do both. Like actually starting with your user hat should be a little bit easier. To run Kubernetes, like to run Docker in desktop or Docker desktop and Kubernetes on your machine, it'll take a few gigs of RAM. Like and that's certainly an issue that a lot of people face. Sometimes running just getting access to a Kubernetes cluster that's remote is just as good. That works just as well. That way it doesn't consume as much local memory. I think Abhi has advanced past a lot of this stuff. So she spent some time installing Meshery as a user. She spent some time building mesheryctl as a contributor. And now she has a PR up in which, if I'm not mistaken, I think she's trying to improve the user experience for specific commands so that users don't get presented back with like this gobbledygook dial TCP IPv6 90 blah blah. She's trying to improve that experience and improve the response. And as she goes to verify that the code change that she has made in mesheryctl produces the response, the desired, as she goes to verify her bug fix or her UX improvement. At that moment in time, you would either want Meshery server running or you wouldn't. In this case, you might be, yeah, I suppose that you actually probably do have to have Meshery server running.
Yeah.
It's a little bit deceiving I think the title of your PR indicates that you would have to have Meshery server running, because the UX that you're trying to improve is that someone tries to like import a pattern and something goes wrong. And when it goes wrong, to like show back a good error message. The description of the PR points out that maybe you don't need Meshery server running, because maybe you're trying to prevent it from saying, yeah, that what you had said, like error, that terrible connection refused message, and you're trying to improve it to say, hey, mesheryctl can't reach Meshery server. Please make sure that you have Meshery server running. And when you do, you're trying to tell the user, here's a very helpful command, a mesheryctl system check. So if that's all right, I think in this case, you don't need Meshery server, actually, because when you go to run your test with mesheryctl pattern import or pattern apply, because you wouldn't have Meshery server running, you then should be able to see your improved response. Did I get that right?
Right. I think I understand what you mean. So I should be able to test it without running the server, right? Without starting the server. So I should be able to get this error message displayed without running the server.
You said that a lot more concisely than I did. Yes, that's what I said. Yes, that's what I mean.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so that, yeah.
Oh, so this applies for the pattern list and the import and like any command or specific one?
Yeah, for all. I mean, she's working on a specific one, but there are like 3 or 4 open issues, and this is good for anybody who's looking to get into Golang. I think Gurpreet, we might have been talking about this. Is that like mesheryctl is a great place to dip your toe into Golang, and actually focusing on these UX issues is a great place to do it as well.
Sure, I'll look into it.
Mario, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yes, I think is the answer to
Oh, no, you're right. Yeah, this is good.
I think I'm just going to do that. And then I think when I read through the old stuff yesterday, and it says that I need to also go back and rebase and then include the sign off and then retry. So then probably I'll also test it just so that I could get those things checked so that it would be able to, once it gets it checked, then probably I can do the PR request again.
Yeah, another approach is there's a lot of mostly friendly people on this call who, well, like Gurpreet is an individual that would like to, hasn't made it as far as Abhi has on jumping into mesheryctl. But if Gurpreet has an environment with Kubernetes and he can test out, he can review Abhi's PR and test it out. So that would be great because it would help Abhi. It would also be great because it would help Gurpreet. And so what do you know? We're doing matchmaking on this call. This is great.
Right. I'll send them a message afterwards and then see.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Thanks, Abhi. So
Yeah.
we have 4 minutes left. So Harkirat would like to show this your update.
Yeah, I would be really quick, right? Just give me 1 second. So yeah, so I was working on issue on removing the description for the additional field. So giving context for someone new. So we use RJSF for a form component that the fancy form that you see in design configurator and in the mesh map when you pull a node. So for some nodes, we were seeing the additional text, like the additional description specific to additional field. So yesterday I was on call with Abhi. So with V5, with RJS V5, I have predefinedly how a field type would look in the UI, right? And that custom field template govern it, and it rules like how the things are going to be look in the UI. But additional property, again, being a special case, so it I suspect a bug in RJSF, and what I'm gonna do is, like, on the latest betas, like beta release, I wanna just test out the entire thing, and if it works, then fine. If it doesn't work, then I'm gonna pull a issue in their repo, and let's see how that community respond, right? But I hope they would respond, because yesterday I was talking to one of the RJSF guy, and they said, like, just pull me, bring the scenario, and yeah, that's all about this. And yes, it's a PR don't merge label, so we won't merge this PR until I confirm things. So that's pretty much about removing the additional description, right? Okay. Any question, Abhi, or Lee?
I don't have any question. It looks
Okay.
good to me. There has been like some change in the field template. Like the field template construct is new to V5, so we moved from V3 to V5. So there had to be some regression coming along. So this is one of the examples.
Yeah. Let me confirm the behavior, and let's see if it's actual bug on their RJS repo. And let me pull out those people, like tell them like this is a specific issue, right? And let's see how they respond, right? Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Harkirat. So with just 1 minute left, I think Ashish, you can make a call for participants.
Yeah, so just to quickly plug the call in, there is a built-in release call that happens every other week. So the second and the fourth Thursdays, it happens on 12 a.m. Central Time. So tomorrow is that call. If you're already not subscribed to the calendar, please do fill the newcomers form and attend tomorrow's call. So we talk about things like unit tests, integration tests, some of the backend related things, some Golang related issues as well, about GitHub Actions as well. So if you're interested in any of those things, please make sure that you are on tomorrow's call. There are already people who had been assigned few tasks. They have basically some of the PRs have been merged. Some of the updates are to be discussed on the tomorrow call. Maybe you can get your hands on some of the issues. So yeah, make sure to be there.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Ashish, for making our call. So yeah, tomorrow we also have newcomers call. So if you are still not sure in which project you should contribute, so do join the newcomers call. We'll be discussing about every layer 5 projects in depth. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining today.
Thank you, Gaurav.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, bye.